Hey there, I wanted to talk about data. We've been getting a whole lot of questions about why my data is so bad, and it's not. It's what you're doing with it. So raw data, we'll call it raw data, is any type of list. That just means that's information that you purchased, either from a list provider or even collecting it from the county. So really what we have here is dynamic, which would be county data, and static, which is a list. So now we have a raw data, which is a list. We're combining all of it together for this conversation or for this explanation video. So if you're a real estate investor and you have bought a house, you had a closing date. And on the closing date, you went there to somebody's office, either an attorney or a closing agent, and you signed a piece of paper promising money for the house. And on there, it had a parcel ID, a legal description, and typically a county or a FIP, some way of being able to identify that piece of dirt is what you were buying, and hopefully everything on top of it. So what we've seen is from the time, that actual closing date to it being given to the county to be recorded can be as much as 3 months. So even though you had a closing date, the rest of the world doesn't know it hadn't been recorded yet. Then you get into the big data providers, the list source from Melissa Data or whoever you're buying data from, Adam, and there are a couple others. But so what they do is they buy the county data from the source, the county. None of these data providers create the physical address. The county did. That's where the parcel number comes from and where it's recorded. So they may only update their data 4 times a year. So that means if a house sold, there may be a 7-month lag period. They're not real time. They're not dynamic. So if you go to a county website, it updates often. Static is a list. So if you bought a list, next month if you go buy the same list, some stuff will have changed. So I say all that to try to relay that the data when you buy it is as good as it can get. Like, for example, I was surfing around and found a 1987 phone book. It had premium written on the top of it. So on there was names, addresses, and phone numbers. Typically it's not people who own the house, but it's who lived there at the time. Today, those property addresses would still be relevant. The phone numbers and names would not work on an SMS campaign, but the data of the addresses is. And that's where we started stacking data. I tell everybody to just collect everything that they have and combine it into one data set. That gives you as complete of an issue as complete of every list you've ever purchased and skip traced, bringing it together into one big centralized area. So in doing that, we know that all the addresses are right. Everything else changes. It doesn't matter if you bought it today because you may not have gotten the most recent version of that data, or it could have been, purchased from a long time ago and it's still a valid lead. So now if you were to send that off to a skip trace company, they're going to give you between 1 and 10 phone numbers tied to that address, which all of this has a percentage chance of being wrong because I only have 1 cell phone number myself. So if they try to provide me with 10 numbers, we know that 90% of it's wrong. So now you just have a mathematical formula of trying to look at what your deviation or your error is. So you have an error on county data because if the county is wrong, every single provider that deals with county data is also wrong. So if you sent the wrong address to get skip traced, or the wrong owner or the wrong name and they can't figure it out, you get back bad data. And it's just part of the game. And it's your job to turn this raw data into clean data. So once we understand that buying it just means that it's the best that's available and you have to be able to convert it into useful information, it seems that everybody has the biggest issue with that. So let's just pretend that you have 2 platforms you market on, or 3 for a CRM, and you have SMS and you have cold calling. Off of that, you're going to get return buckets or lists or whatever you call them that they say they're wrong numbers. That may be half of what you send, whatever your response rate is, and then the other half you end up with a big question mark that the people never responded. So let's just say that these are wrong numbers, and you have people you're just leaving messages for indefinitely. So what we are starting to see is, let's just pretend you had a 50% response rate, but you still have 50% that have now, how long do you keep going with that? Well, what we found is if you were to take these wrong numbers and remove it from your data set, so any data set, you have addresses and you have phone numbers. And usually, let's just say we have 3 phone numbers. So we take all the wrong numbers, and they're all throughout here. Not everybody has it, so this one may only have 3, 2, whatever, you understand. So you have SMS campaign, you have wrong numbers, or people that say they're not interested, they're dead. Well, actually, dead would go over here. So we can come back and remove all of these wrong numbers. And what we're left with is we start seeing that when we start randomly deleting out just the bad numbers, it identifies the properties that we now need to go look at something else. So even though we're calling and we have a phone number and we're hitting them every day, every week, every month, just continuously hitting them, it may not be the owner of the house. Because like I was saying, that 1987 phone book has the right addresses in it, but all the data is wrong. So we now go through and remove all of this, and you're left with properties that you wanted to be able to purchase, and it's just a cleaning process. So there are a lot of tools out there. I design and build them, and also can run it to perform all the data cleaning based on the information that we have, to identify the properties that are left and create some automation to start contacting these people. So that's data in a nutshell. It's the property addresses are correct, the owners may not be, and the phone numbers may not be. Oh yeah, and phones, from what we've heard, a lot of the times if the user has moved in the past 2 years, phone data is based on history. So if they're moving around, they may not have the correct information either. So, phone numbers are inevitably wrong. That's the reason they give you 10 of them. So if you have any problems about software or tools or how to use them, or if you just need all of it done for you, data is what you market. So with bad data or raw data, that's your business. That's how everybody generates outbound marketing to bring in revenue. So if you aren't doing all of the processes or need help with it, reach out.